hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Get rid of this. Pull this up here.
Autoplay.
Did. Let's stop that. And so. There we go. Okay. Howdy.
Howdy.
There we go. All right. My name is Jay Cross. I'm the lead producer at Cloud Imperium Games. I work out of the Austin studio. This is my presentation. Thank you for coming. My name, I told you the presentation's name is Foot Meet Door, a guide for how to break into the games industry. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about just some tidbits, advice, guidance that I've picked up over the years in the industry for how to get into it. I know I was kind of sitting in y'all's shoes a while, not too long ago, kind of wondering the same thing myself. So hopefully everyone finds this beneficial. So just a little bit about me. And just real quick, can everybody see this in the back? I know there's some bright lights shining on this. Everybody cool? Okay, cool. Awesome. Just make sure. All right. So a little bit about me. Who am I and what do I do? I'm a graduate of the visualization program here. I did my Bachelor of Science and Master of Science class of 2011. I have been in the industry for a little over 8 years as a producer. I'm Scrum certified, I've got my PMP, and I'm a safe agilist as well. I have spent about this good portion of almost 8 years at Cloud Imperium Games. Before that, I was a client producer at CG Bot. So currently, I'm running a team of 7 producers across the Austin and LA studios. Chelsea Stanton here is one of them. Also a graduate of A&M. I have experience managing and producing almost all aspects of game development in my time at CIG. I've produced for art teams, animation teams, design, programming. I've been a part of live release production as well, among many other things. I have experience as a hiring manager. And most importantly, I have a passion for helping others get their foot in the door, which is why I'm here. A little bit about our company. What does Cloud Imperium Games do? Who here has heard of Cloud Imperium? Okay, cool. That's actually more than I thought. That's awesome. Who here has actually played Star Citizen? Hey, all right, cool. So Cloud Imperium Games, we started as a Kickstarter campaign in 2012. We have over 3 million backers since we started.
And our state diagram are on the right-hand side of the gray box. Waiting, and then if we get interrupted, we get taken from that box and we're full.
All right, there you go.
Awesome. So I just want to make sure it wasn't me. Okay. Cool. Let me go back here. Let's try that again. There we go. There we go. Okay. Start again. Cloud Imperium Games started in 2012 as a Kickstarter, and once we kind of got some of our funding, we moved to our own crowdfunding, kind of for our own website. Over 3 million backers that have backed our product. We have over 380 million raised in crowdfunding in total, which is a Guinness World Record for most crowdfunded project of all time. We have 5 studios worldwide, one in LA, one in Austin, one in Frankfurt, Germany, one in Manchester, United Kingdom, and we have a contingent in Montreal, Canada as well. And we're a company of over 700 employees as well. We started as a handful of guys in a basement in downtown Austin, and we are now 700 strong across the globe. So yeah, that's Cloud Imperium Games. Our projects that we have in progress at the moment: Star Citizen, which you just saw a trailer for. We call it a first-person universe. It's kind of, we sell it as a be who you want to be, go do what you want to do, go where you want to go. And it's an online MMO style. Ambitions and scale is off the charts. We've been developing the game for over 8 years. It's massive, and it's taken a long time to get where we are. Other project we got, Squadron 42, single player narrative driven game set in the same universe as Star Citizen. We have a AAA cast in the game that we have done performance capture and stuff for, including Mark Hamill, you see it there, Gillian Anderson, Mark Strong, W. Davies, Andy Serkis, all the way on down. That's a single player game that we're hoping to launch in the next couple of years. Theaters of War in our next project, an objective-based game mode where the key focus is the use of combined arms. It's basically a playground, or it's supposed to be kind of very short sessions where we kind of test out the ship-based combat gameplay and on-foot-based combat gameplay in Star Citizen, and we use it to fine-tune and balance and things like that. So that's something that we're hoping to launch here in the future as well. Cool. So that's enough about me and my company. Here's what you guys really came here for. How do I get into the industry? So who you're here, obviously you have an interest in games, it seems like. Who here is wanting to go into video games at some point? Yeah, that's what I hear. Just making sure. Is there anybody who doesn't want to go into games? Curious. Just here to learn. Okay, yeah, not sure yet. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. A little bit about me. When I went through this program, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew I liked to be around creatives and be around creative individuals. And it took me all through my undergrad and my graduate program until I kind of figured out, like, oh, games as a career, this could be interesting. So you're not alone if you're not quite sure yet. So I have 5 points I want to go over with you guys today. One is the first point is your first impression. Your resume is the first and potentially last chance that someone will have to see what you could bring to the table. So I want to kind of go over a little bit of advice regarding your resume. If you haven't gotten a resume together, now's a great time to start. Here's just some tips and tricks based off of, and this advice comes from someone who does a lot of the reviewing of resumes before they get sent to other hiring managers, like our lead artists and designers, and et cetera, et cetera. I see a lot of things that cause me to just go, nope, not a good candidate, not a good candidate, not a good candidate. So yeah, just some advice here. First and foremost, spelling errors and grammatical mistakes equals bad. It feels like pretty self-explanatory, but you'd be surprised how many of these actually make their way through to applications. I have noticed misspellings of people's names in the past as well. This is just stuff that it shows a level of amateurity. That's a word. I just made it a word. But it basically shows me if this person can't take the time and attention to get their spelling and grammar and et cetera, right on their resume, how can I be convinced that they have the same level of care that they would bring to the job, right? So keep an eye for that stuff. Cater to skimmers first, studiers last. On average, I'll spend about 10 seconds reviewing a resume before I make a decision on it. It's skimming. I look for buzzwords. I look for things that stick out. And then if I see something I like, I will then go back and I'll do a deep dive. But so many resumes are coming through, especially for big companies, that you get 10 seconds, 20 seconds max to hook somebody. So cater to skimmers first. Make sure you've got a very easy to read resume. Make sure you've got buzzwords on there. Make use of bolding where needed, so that things catch people's attention. And then if you see something you like as a hiring manager, at that point you'd go back and then you'd go into the details, right? Proofread once, twice, 3 times. This kind of ties into the spelling and grammatical mistakes. Use somebody else to proofread your resume as well. Don't just do it yourself. Find a friend, a family member, have them proofread your resume over and over again, just to make sure that it is absolutely solid. I already mentioned that. Recruit others to review it. Show yourself in the best light. It's kind of surprising to me, especially for people who don't have a lot of experience, like in Noel's case. You're students, you have some projects you maybe worked on, maybe you had an internship. You don't have decades of experience to draw from to flesh out your resume. But the experience you do have, and we'll go over examples in a second, experience you do have is valuable. And you need to highlight the specific things that you feel like would be beneficial in the role you're applying for. Don't just put something like, internship. What did you actually do in your internship that would qualify you for the role? Show yourself in the best light possible. But, big but here, be honest. Don't unnecessarily pad your resume with things that you're not proficient with. Don't just put something on there because you took a class on it, right? Freshman year, and now you're a senior and you've forgotten pretty much everything, but you took a class on it, so I'm gonna put it on my resume. People will call you out on this stuff in interviews, and they'll be able to see through answers if you can't speak to the level of detail that somebody have expertise in something like. They might notice that, right? They'll see through it. So show yourself in the best light, but be honest, okay? And I'll go over examples here now. I want to show you a few examples of resumes that I like, that I have to come across my desk in the past. Some of these people I've hired. So I want to go over these for a second. I'm not going to go through every single little thing, right? This is somebody who kind of came through, and they've obviously got a lot of experience, right? So they're not in y'all's situation. But what I like about this resume, there's kind of a TLDR at the top, right? There's, again, you're catering to skimmers, 4 bullet points, pretty impressive stuff. Over 30 interactive products shipped, 7 years experience, uses buzzwords strong, creative, organized, efficient. I like that. I see something that grabs my attention. I want to read further. I like the formatting here. I like the time frames over here on the side. There's a lot here, right? So I'm not going to read through this all in the first go. I'm going to skim through this whole thing. I'm going to look for the buzzwords I want to see. And if I like what I see, I want to go back through it, right? Like I manage a team of 36 individuals. That raises questions like, oh, wow, they've actually managed a large team. They've been with this company a couple of years, a little step there. I do want to take this time to point out, the worst thing to see as a hiring manager is a slew of like 1-year stints at a company. So you probably don't have that thing now on your resume, but when you get in the industry, something to keep in mind. I don't want like a job hopper, essentially, is kind of how we've termed it. If I see a long slew of 1-year stints, why is that? Why am I supposed to believe that you're going to last any longer at my company? Right? I want somebody who's going to stay for a long time. Right? So I just want to call that out as well. And then here at the bottom, they've got education and certifications. I know a lot of people will put their education at the very top of the resume. I advise putting your experience first, especially for games industry. It's more important. Experience is much more important than education. It can be good to see education called out. Definitely include it, especially if you've got certifications and stuff like that. But experience for me trumps education. This resume I like for the formatting. I want to call this out. This is not as effective. The objectives portion up there, not as effective as that. Why is that? That is a wall of text. That is a short list of bullet points with key terms called out, right? I'm not going to take the time to read, especially at the very top of your resume. I know a lot of people put these objectives or this is my goal. I know what your goal is. Your goal is to get a job. I don't need to know. I don't need to see a big block of text explaining your vision, for the next 10 years or something like that, right? So, for me, short list of bullet points at the top, better than a paragraph here. I like this sort of format here where you don't have a huge long list of bullet points where they actually, broken it out like that. The bullet points make it easy to read. I see things I like as a producer. If I'm hiring a producer, I see Kanban mentioned here, Agile Scrum, scheduling, budgets, Confluence. These are all things that will grab my attention and go, well, I want to read more, right? So whatever role you're applying for, make sure you're catering to that. Make sure you're finding what those buzzwords are. I like the format, the bullet points, the stints, the use of red to call out the roles here. It reads very nicely. It's good formatting. I like this one a lot too. I like the spelling out of the experience here at the top, education at the bottom. One thing I do want to call out here, don't tell Ben Dorsey about this. This doesn't do anything for me. This level of, on a scale of 1 to 5, what's your experience in development tools, scripting, documentation? The reason why is your scale is very different from someone's scale who's been working in the industry for 20 years. This sort of scaling, I think does a good job of making me understand, like, if I'm in an interview and I want to ask this person about, let's just say, for example, the C# was like a 1, C++ was a 5 or something. I know going in, okay, if I ask this person a C#, their answer may not be as fleshed out as if I ask them about C++ or something like that, right? So that is a little helpful, but I look at all this too. If this was an entry-level job, I'm raising my eyebrows at this because I'm like, there's no way, because I'm comparing this entry-level applicant to someone who I'm currently working with, who's been in the industry for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, right? That's the scale we're dealing with. So I'm not a big fan of this, and I'm going to take a second to explain also that everything I'm saying here is my opinion based on my experience. You may have somebody come in and tell you something completely different based on their opinion and their experience. Your job is to kind of come to these talks, listen to people talk about their opinions and their thoughts and their guidance, and suss out what you need to do for yourself. But I'm just telling you, as somebody who's kind of gone through a lot of this, I see a lot of this. There's not a lot of value that I've seen come out of this sort of scaling over here on the right-hand side. This one I like, it's clean. I like the education over here on the side, skills over here. I'm looking for buzzwords in the skills section. This one is it's not a bullet point, but it's very short and sweet. The formatting is really nice. I like they obviously have a speaking and awards kind of called out here. This is something that they're obviously passionate about. Sometimes you'll see at the bottom somebody will list their hobbies or their certifications or speaking engagements or something like that. That tells you a lot about what's important to you as a candidate. If you're really passionate about games and you want to, like I've seen people list here are all the games I've played in the past year, which is actually really interesting. I wouldn't necessarily advise taking a whole lot of space on your resume for that, but it was a conversation starter in that interview, and it showed that they were passionate for games. So that was interesting. And then this one, some of y'all, I don't know, maybe you know this person. This is somebody who recently graduated from here, so I want to focus in on it. This person doesn't have a whole lot of experience professionally. You see they worked in the lab. They've worked at Chilean game jams. But this resume is just as padded as this, or that, or this. Well, not quite that, but you get the idea. Like if I were to look at this from way far away and squint my eyes, I wouldn't think that this person has the same experience as this person. So this person maxed out their experience by doing a deep dive into their specific roles in the live lab and with Selenium. They got their activities listed over here, the buzzwords. Look at the buzzwords. Agile Scrum, very, very top. As a producer, hiring manager, I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. Atlassian, Jira, Confluence, love that. Their game jams down here. Like this resume screams, I'm passionate about games without having a whole lot of experience. So I really like this. Once I see these buzzwords, I'm diving in here. I'm looking like 10 plus projects. That's cool. Use Jira and Confluence. That's really cool. That's what I need. There's just plenty in here that was attractive once you did a deep dive. But again, the buzzwords got me to do the deep dive in the first place. So you don't have to have a lot of experience to have a really good resume. And so I want to call that out here too. Cool. So that's enough of that. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of tidbits for how to build a good resume. Second point, stand out. Easier said than done, right? How do you stand out in a sea of applications? Couple thoughts here. Make a great website. Let me just put it this way. Artists, designers, programmers, you need a website. You need a web presence. Producers, don't care. Don't care about websites for producers. But if you're an artist, get your stuff on ArtStation or DeviantArt or something like that, right? If you're a designer, get yourself a website. Programmer, get on GitHub and have your website for your stuff. And it has to be nice. Like you don't have to hire a professional to put it together. You can just jump on Wix and put something on Wix, right? But you need to be able to have a web presence, something that's easily clicked and navigatable. On your website, the same rule applies as it does with your resume. I'm gonna skim over it in about 10 seconds, less than, because I've already spent 5 seconds on your resume and I don't have a lot of time. So I'm gonna look through that website, and if I don't see it, I don't like what I see, or if I don't see something that really grabs my attention within 5-10 seconds, I'm closing out of it, right? So don't bury your projects, your work and links upon links upon links upon links, right? Put everything just on a homepage, demo reel, splash reel, whatever on the homepage. Don't make your demo reel like, well, go back and forth on this. I wouldn't put a demo reel that's like 10 minutes long on your resume, right? I think y'all probably gone through classes where you kind of talk about your demo reel and best practices for your demo reel and stuff like that. But the website needs to follow the same principles as your resume, cater to skimmers, not studiers. Okay. Show that you can rise above. How do you do this? Diversify your skills. Don't generalize to the point of being master of none, but get as deep as you can into multiple engines, software, programming languages. Don't just settle on Unity and that's it, right? Like you have to really learn things because there's so many different companies do so many different things. Know what the standards of the industry are, and study those. Read about them, learn about them. Get dangerous enough with this stuff to be able to talk about it in interviews. Again, don't jump into the whole master of none thing where you don't know anything well enough to really be an expert in anything, but know at least enough to be dangerous to some of this other stuff. Experience is your most important asset. Don't wait to make games. Make games now. Mods, side projects, game jams. I guess, like I mentioned, how experience trumps education, at least from a resume reviewing standpoint. That's the stuff you're going to want to put at the top of your resume, right? Your experience. So if you want to get in the games industry and you're not making games right now, you need to start. Because that shows that you have passion for the games, right? It's not just an academic thing. It's like, here are some proven projects that I have made, and here I'm going to show them off on my website. Right? And then prove your passion. Making games is very difficult. As a hiring manager, I want to know that you care enough about this to push through the trials and tribulations. So again, you need to have evidence of your passion. And how do you have evidence of your passion? Here's a project I made. I've been working on this thing for 2 years with a couple of friends of mine. I actually have a project on Steam. Like this is, I think I should mention that right there. Get a project on Steam, right? This is, I'd say I don't see this a lot. I don't see a whole lot of people coming in with like, hey, I actually got a project on Steam that's playable right now. And I'm not saying like you have to get it on Steam, but what the principle behind this, right, is that you finished something and you took something from start to finish and you felt what it was like to both begin a project and end a project. And that's actually really, really valuable. And then lastly here, network. Join game making communities, attend events, pester gently the contacts you do make in the industry. So after this, you guys know me, you know my name, follow me on LinkedIn. I'm always available for any help that you guys may want, ask questions. As you meet people in the industry, take advantage of that connection. Actually follow up with people, get advice, guidance, all that stuff. But if you're not networking, if you're not meeting people and asking those questions, it's really difficult to really understand and know how to kind of talk the talk, if that makes sense. And these game making communities are the ones that will actually have the people in them that you want to make games with. And I'll kind of go over examples of a couple of these in a second. So this is how you stand out. This is when I'm looking at resumes, if I see an awesome website, if I see a diverse set of skills, not just one engine, but multiple engines or multiple softwares, if I see links to finished game projects, and not just, like game jam projects are great, by the way, but there's no way that you can experience the full breadth of game development in 48-hour game jams. At least not to the extent that we're looking for as hiring managers. Game jam projects are great, but they're exactly that. They're 48-hour, just intense game development sessions. Game development takes a long time. So I recommend some longer stinted projects as well. But if I see examples of projects like that, and I see, you're meeting people at these industry events and stuff like that, that's what's gonna help you stand out. We'll see time. All right, knowledge is power. Learn as much as you can about the industry. What are the trends? Where's the industry headed? which companies are thriving, which ones are stagnant, how does one make a game. GDC videos are great for this, as are subscriptions to outlets like Game Informer. I actually have a subscription to Game Informer magazine, the physical one. I know it's like a foreign concept for a lot of people nowadays. I like to hold the magazine in my hand. This is how I keep up to date with what's going on in the industry. I watch GDC videos, I read magazines like Game Informer. I have there are websites that I go to, gamesindustry.biz, I think is one. I think it's the name of it. This is, keep up with the trends of what's going on in the industry you're trying to get into. Because that will help you also to know, I want to apply for this company because they're doing really cool things, or I heard this company was working on this cool project. I want to cater my resume and portfolio towards that. That's how you kind of learn more about the industry you're going into. Prepare for the interview. Goodness gracious, this is something that I see constantly. I don't understand. If you're going to take the time to apply to work at a company, to come into the interview knowing nothing about the company you're applying to or the projects that they do, automatic no, goodbye, see it. Look up the companies you're applying to, read their Glassdoor, see if they're available interview questions. Some companies do post these. And most importantly, play their games. It's the most, not the most, but one of the most disheartening things to go in an interview for a candidate you like. You say, well, have you played any of our games? And you say, well, no. It's like, oh, like there's a little bit of, yeah, okay. You don't want to give you don't want to give your company that you're interviewing for any reason to think negatively at all, right? And no, that doesn't mean that you need to be playing every game under the sun, right? It's impossible. There's too many out there. I don't have time to play every 100-hour plus overall game. But I live in Austin. I know the companies that are in Austin. When a game company in Austin releases something, I will go and play it at least a little bit. Because you just never know when you're going to be applying somewhere, or when you're looking around and you go to interview the company. Ooh, that position opened up, and you can actually say, oh, I actually played that game, and you can talk about it, because game makers like to talk about what they make. Hopefully some of you understand that, having made games yourself, right? The best way to relate to somebody about a potential position is to talk up the thing that they make, to show you're passionate about what they're doing as a company, as a team. So, right now it's kind of like, well, I have no idea where I'm going. I don't know what city I'm moving to. But you probably know what types of games you like to make or like to play. So play more of those types of games. Get in, find out which companies are making those games, and then I might actually lead you to applying to those companies later on. So play their games, get to know these companies that you're doing interviews. Oh, and also tailor your application to the companies that you're applying to. It doesn't do you any service to copy paste all these applications, and I know it's hard to do because you're applying potentially to 50, 100 companies. You're just trying to get your name out there, right? And so you're doing very little research. It's like, oh, open position, just blast a resume out, or blast an application out, blast an application out. I'm going to talk about this in a second, but you need to go broad, but also you need to be intelligent about it as well. You need to be focused and targeted, because just going broad, it's pretty apparent and obvious when somebody sends me a cover letter and it's just a copy paste. And while understandable, again, it's kind of right, and you don't want in any interview to start off any interview process, right? Look at common interview questions for your domain. Take advantage of resources at your disposal. GameDevMap.com, and this is going to throw everything off, I know. I'm going to attempt to open this up. Did it work? Maybe. Yes.
See some action on the top.
There we go. No, that's not. I see it on my screen, but not your screen.
Oh, you might have to escape out of your test presentation.
Okay. Also, this Mac is about to die if we can have it plugged in somewhere.
Oh no, is it dying?
No, I think it's, there we go. Okay, GameDevMap.com. All right, so this here will be your friend when you actually start applying places. So I don't know if anybody's, who here has heard of this before? Okay, So this resource is awesome. You can browse game development companies by country. You can search whether they're publisher, mobile, or developer. If I type Austin up here are all the game companies currently in Austin. I can go to Cloud Imperium Games, and I can go to their website, shameless plug, and I can go to their Join Us page, and I go to their Austin open positions, and I can see they've got 15 open positions, and I can see they've got producer positions, project manager, live QA, game designer, recruiter, UI designer, vehicle artist. This is a really powerful tool when you get to start applying. So I highly recommend you write that down. Game dev maps. By the way, any resources on here, I can forward on to Maya, who can get that to you guys later. You don't need to frantically write it down or anything like that unless you want to. But yeah, so gamedevmaps.com. Let's go back over here. Resources. They're talking about communities, right? There are communities everywhere, and y'all probably are part of them already, right? There's a Women in Games Discord you can jump on and start networking through that. Game Devs of Color Expo, I attended that 2 weeks ago. There's lots of great projects coming out of that. I had the whole community around that. Go to South by Southwest. Obviously, this is post-pandemic, right? But South by Southwest, PAX South, you're doing Chillennium, which is awesome, hopefully. Seek advice from professors, mentors, and friends. Use the resources at your disposal. Take advantage of the time you have here in college and the multitude of resources you've got online nowadays to make games and learn and meet people who are also passionate about making games, right? It is at this point that I want to do a discipline deep dive, and I'm going to breeze through this. But so I want to provide some specific feedback, some specific guidance for disciplines, whether you're art, design, programming, production. I've gotten some of this from our hiring managers internally. Some of this I will not have the knowledge of about to go too much in depth with, but I want to share nonetheless. A few points from our art director, the things he looks for in an entry-level applicant. He wants to see, is the person a fantastic modeler with clean geometry, specifically using the perturbed normals workflow? We're making a AAA game. We want to see AAA efficient geometry, but we are a high poly count project, which is a lot of projects nowadays, by the way. I don't know if you've seen Unreal 5. It's mind blowing. On the ship team, we typically use the art director for the ship team. We typically use tiling, textures, and decals with parallax occlusion mapping, as we treat our ships more like levels. We want to see the ability to create and apply details with displacement decals. We want to see a strong sense of scale as well as control over the principles and elements of art, as we are often evolving on ship designs and need to do so on the fly. Portfolios that tend to show this have pieces with a real sense of place, mood, and story. Proficiency with environment lighting is a plus. This is how we focus the player and highlight details within a ship, as well as increase the sense of volume. There's that diversity of skill set, right? You're not just a hard surface modeler. You also have some experience with environment lighting as well. And that will, so if he sees environment lighting on a resume, he gravitates to that and he dives deeper. Proficiency with simple mechanical animations, again, diversity of your skill set is a plus. We need to make all our own animations for landing gear, doors, hatches, ladders, and any other articulating parts on our ships. So, and this is a quote I got from him. My process when hiring usually entails ignoring everything, including the person's name and clicking on the portfolio link. If that doesn't do it for me, it ends there. Again, he's not even looking at your resume unless he likes what he sees in your portfolio. We don't have a whole lot of time. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but I do want to focus on one. Yeah.
You can send them to me and I'll send
Yes, that's a good idea. So I've got some examples of entry-level portfolios here on ArtStation. These are people that we've hired recently. So I'll send those as a link to Maya, and she can get you those as well. So you can kind of see, just generally speaking, what a AAA company looks for for entry-level artists. Design. No one starts out as the idea guy or gal. Everyone, as a designer, wants to be in design because they've got great ideas, right? They want to see their designs come to life. But do not expect, unless you go and start your own company, or you maybe start a really, really small company, to become that person immediately or within any sort of reasonable time frame. The idea people are people who usually have been in the industry for a while. So, you know, if an opportunity opens up to do that yourself, whether you start your own company or start a smaller company, work your way up, take it. But just go in with that expectation that you'll need to have patience before you become the idea person, right? Need to see evidence of good designs, GDDs, level maps, mission flow charts. I have an example here as well. I'll send that as well later. We need to see, if you're going to be a designer, we need to see that you've designed things. We need to see how your mind works. That one. So like, I need to see evidence of how you design. I want to know your thought process. And so again, cater to the skimmer, not the studier. But for the studiers, if they can get past the skimming, give them just these giant design docs that you've documented. Give them flow charts for missions that you've designed. Give them level maps, right? Like be super generous with your designs that you've done, so that they can see how you think and how you work. Be specific about what you contributed to a game project. I see this all the time with students who put a video of like, look at this cool game project we made, but there's no evidence of what you did. You just see like it's a cool video, cool project, but what did you do specifically? Did you design the AI flow? Did you design the level? What did you do on this project? Be specific about that. And actually, I've seen awesome demo reels for designers where they will take reels of like gameplay reels, and they'll put overlays of text and pause things and point at things and say, look at this. See, I made this, I implemented that, I did this. And it's a designer demo reel, basically. It's really, really powerful. The more you can showcase how you think, again, I mentioned this, and what your design thought process is, the better. Tailor your website to showcase this. So again, studiers, or skimmers, not studiers. For the studiers, have that stuff available. Okay, programming. I'm going to put all this up at the same time so people can be reading while I'm talking. Have a portfolio of games, including your code. Again, this is where a link on GitHub or something will be useful. Ideally, your code is available on GitHub. You can make it optionally available via download. A combination of documentation, either on your website or README on the GitHub or something like that, which talks about the project and your contributions and solutions and code. So the idea is make your code available. Like we want to see, if you're going to apply for coding positions, we want to see how you code. Be familiar with the tools of the trade, low-level programming, low abstraction code. Work with C++ in a style that is more direct to what the CPU executes. Knowing things like memory management, multi-threading, and cache coherence. Leverage the resources of the computer to their leverage the resources of the computer to their utmost. So the idea, guys, is that it's fine and dandy to make games in Unity, but a lot of what Unity does actually it allows you to make games quickly. But you lose some of that layer of understanding what is actually happening in the code. And AAA games, especially ones that are like online, you have to know this stuff: memory management, multi-threading, cache coherence. If you're a programmer, write those 3 things down. Those are the things that we're going to look for to know that you actually understand low-level programming and not just programming at through Unity, basically. Know how to debug and profile your code. This is actually, like, surprisingly, we don't see evidence of this a whole lot. Profiling CPU, GPU, especially if you're interested in graphics programming and memory. Again, profiling your code so you know what's going on and how to fix things. I mentioned this, it's like medicine along the way. You take medicine now so that you don't have a debilitating issue later you have to have surgery for. Same thing with your code. You got to know how to profile your code as you're developing it to know where the problem issues are, so that when you get to the end and you try to compile it, it doesn't just break and you're like, what's going on? It's not performant. How do I make it more performant? I don't know. You should have been profiling as you went. Let's see. This one. Which basically boils down to this question. Know how to answer the question, where's the bottleneck in your code, or why is it taking so long to run your code? If you can't answer these questions, for AAA companies, especially ones with giant open worlds and online services, it's not gonna work. You gotta get familiar with profiling tools, including Visual Studio or open source profilers. Get experience with frame profilers, sampling profilers. The TLDR is know how to diagnose issues with your code. It's a really key component, and something that if you want to stand apart, if you want to set yourself apart from other people, that is something that is huge, because at that point, it's not on the manager to handhold you through your first 6 months to a year of working in a company. You know how to debug your own code, and that's really attractive to a manager because it means they have to do less hand-holding, and they can do their own work. So that's going to be super, super crucial. 3D math, trigonometry, linear algebra, some calculus, very important for large open world AAA games. If you don't have a good background in 3D math, I have a list of resources that I provide that will be good for you to look into. This one, when my lead engineer first sent me this, I kind of scratched my head and went, what? But he sent me this: write your own engine from scratch. Also get familiar with the popular engines. AAA studios would usually prefer C++ based engine experience like Unreal versus something like Unity. So just bear that in mind. This, as a non-programmer, seemed like an arduous task, creating your own engine from scratch. Wow. But there are programs out there, SMU Guildhall is one of them, where they actually make the students write their own engine and then use the engine to develop a game the next semester. This is the way he tells it. It makes sense once you think about it. Knowing how to build an engine really teaches you a lot about how games work, funnily enough. And then actually using that engine to develop something, you can see what you did wrong and what you want to do better for next time. It's like if you want to go into construction, building your own house or something like that. You learn a lot about homes if you build one yourself. It's the same kind of thing, right? So for me, at least, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I was like, oh wow, that's kind of an eyebrow raiser at the start of it. It seems like a really large undertaking, and it is. To build your own engine is a large undertaking. But you want to talk about something that'll set you apart? That's it. Last slide on programming: practice whiteboarding. Again, I'm going to put all these up here for folks. Cool. Practice whiteboarding. Highly recommending going through and work on solving problems in C++. So this is part of the interview process. A lot of programming interviews will require a test, and a lot of programming interviews will require this sort of performative method, which our lead engineer, and we don't really do that. We don't really have a culture of that. It's not realistic to what you would actually see in game development. Our lead engineer likes to give people a week to complete a test, so that they can think about it and debug their own code and figure things out. But a lot of companies do this. They will in the interview give you a C++ problem or give you something, and they'll say, program this or make a function that will execute this or something like that. And it can be incredibly stressful from what I hear. So practice whiteboarding. The source here, HackerRank, is a good one. Try to focus on solving problems within C++ on the fly, and be prepared for a culture of performative interviewing for programming interviews. I've got my list of references here for things like 3D math, data-oriented design, C++. I'll send those along as well, so you guys have those. Production. I've got the person mining the rock, because producers are the ones that extract the best out of people. That's a bad joke. All right. So for production, you want to get into production, study up on Scrum and what they call SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework. Get the PSM1 certification if you can. Scrum Agile is the methodology for a lot of game companies. It's not usually when people say, hey, we use Scrum or we use Agile, it's usually a form of it. It's not Scrum right out of the box, but it's good to have the foundation. It's good to know it. Read and learn the Scrum guide. Study up on Kanban as well. These are names of production methodologies that a lot of games companies will use to some extent. Learn Jira or another task tracking software. If you've already got experience with Jira, it makes or some other task tracking software. Again, it's kind of like the programmer who knows how to profile and debug their own code. It's that much less time I'm having to spend teaching you Jira and you come in ready to go, hit the ground running. Read up on scheduling and estimation techniques. A lot of what producers do is schedule. Buzzwords like critical path method, network diagram, bottom-up estimating, and three-point estimating. These are all sort of scheduling and estimation techniques that are good to know. Most importantly, produce a game from start to finish. Again, we talked about this earlier on, but that is knowing the game development process and how to produce from start to finish. Really key. All right. So that was my segue, my sidebar here to the deep dives. Back to how do I get into the industry? We talked about the first 3 points. Fourth point, be willing to adapt. Entry-level jobs are hard to come by. There's not a lot of them out there. There's too many people trying to fill them. Apply for internships while you're here to get experience. Don't waste time. I know it can be tempting during the summer. I lifeguarded for 2 summers and it was a lot of fun, but it did me nothing for my career. Don't find internships now. Look at what companies offer internships and try to get that experience. Or if you don't get an internship, spend this summer making a game. You got a lot of time on your hands. If you're not taking classes, make a game during the summer. But yeah, just want to call that out. If you can't get the job that you want, so you want to be an artist, designer, programmer, if you can't seem to get that foot in the door, a great way to do that is to start in something adjacent to the job you want. There's lots of positions in game companies in QA, customer support, HR, office administration, sometimes production. But don't tell me in the interview that you want to be an artist or designer. Tell me you want to be a producer. But this is a good way of getting your foot in the door, actually just to get into the industry so you can start to get to know the people that are in the roles that you want. I know a guy who he wanted to be an animator, couldn't get a job as an animator, started in QA. He started getting to know the animators in the company. He was doing animation on the side. He was getting feedback from the animators in the company so that when a position actually opened on the animation team, the animators on the team in the company thought about him and said, oh, actually, that guy is really interested in animation and he's been asking for feedback. And he's actually been improving. He's showing a passion and energy that these other candidates don't have. Let's just hire him. And that was how he became an animator. And now he's a senior animator at Gunfire Games. That is a way to do it. And that happens all the time. You may have to move even before you get started. If you want to get in the games industry, right now it's kind of interesting because a lot of companies are hiring remote and it's not a big deal, but LA, Austin are big game hubs. There's game companies all over the place. Again, find out where they are. If you want to get into the games industry, moving to where the game companies are is a good step. A lot of companies will pay for relocation, but it's kind of a bonus if they don't have to. They'll look at it as like, oh, well, the ease of or the barrier to entry or barrier to hiring this person is less. There's less friction there because we don't have to worry about trying to get this person here. So maybe move to the locations, the places where the game companies are, even if you don't have the job. And don't just apply to AAA companies. I know the AAA companies are like the thing and where you want to be maybe at some point, or maybe you don't. But a good way to work your way to that level is indie companies, these little small companies, mobile games. Well, I say mobile games. There are like places like Zynga who's sold businesses mobile games and they're huge, right? But things that are maybe a lesser scope, lesser scale than the projects you want to work on, and you build your way up to that, right? So if you're finding you're applying, you're not getting these roles, you're getting discouraged, an answer might be to work in a completely different field and build up your portfolio. It is okay to graduate, to not get a job, to go work at Kroger as a cashier, and then when you go home at night, to just go full bore on making games and to build up your portfolio, learn new skills, and then you've got a steady paying job while on the side you are building up your skills portfolio to get to the point where at some point you can get the job that you want. So that is an option, right? Most of us want to, get out of school and go straight into games, and that will happen for some of you won't. So this is an option. And the last option is continue education, right? That's what I did. I got to my senior year and realized I didn't have a portfolio I was proud of. I wasted a lot of time in undergrad. I said, you know what, I need to learn more. So I came here to grad school, and I spent a couple more years. I got a little bit more serious, and then I got my job. So be willing to adapt. And the last one, support each other. Role play interviews with each other, review each other's work, review each other's resumes and websites. Once you get the job, keep an eye out for those still trying to break in. Go back and share your experience. I mentioned this as a key component because this is how, we help one another, right? This is why I'm here. I wanted to help you guys get into the industry because somebody helped me get into the industry. So in summary, number one, ensure your first impression is top notch. Find ways to stand out. Improve your knowledge with vigor. Be willing to adapt and support each other. So those are the 5 points that I have. But I want to boil it down even more. Key takeaways here. Some of you are listening to this and realizing, wow, I have a lot of work to do. Don't get discouraged. It is difficult to get in the games industry, but not impossible. And if you do some of these things, take some of these things to heart, start now, things will hopefully work out for you. But don't get discouraged. A lot of the time people can come out of these things and just feel like, oh man, like what have I been doing? I've been wasting my time, or I haven't been going the right direction. Don't get discouraged. It's the best way to dig the pit even deeper. So just want to first say that outright here at the start. Second takeaway, you do have work to do. Like, don't get me wrong. Take advantage of the time you have left here to get yourself in the best position possible. If you are a freshman or close to the start of your college career, be proactive. Start applying these things now. If you are a senior, you're about to end your college career here, be proactive. Consider contingency plans while you build up your skills and portfolio. You notice the key word here in both of these. Be proactive, right? Don't just sit on your hands and just do nothing with this, right? Take this information, go away from here, take a few key tidbits, and start being proactive and developing your skills here. Next takeaway, game development is not a 9-to-5. It basically means like, it's not something you just show up, you do, and you go home. Especially now in your college career, work on game projects and network outside of class. Like, classes are great, but your extra experience, the tailored experience, the things that you want to, let's say you come away from this, man, like I really need to learn how to profile my code. If your class isn't offering that sort of thing, learn it yourself. Do it on the side. When it is time to apply for jobs, apply broadly but intelligently. I mentioned this earlier. You're going to start blasting things out. You're going to use game dev maps to actually learn about some of these companies. You're going to blast out job applications, but a little bit of extra effort to tailor your resume to who you're applying, playing at the company's games, all this stuff, it will go a long way. So take a little bit of extra time when you're blasting these out. Don't just copy paste across every company you apply to. So takeaways. And we have 3 minutes left in here, but we'll take some questions. Also, we will stick around for a little while in case anybody wants to come up here and talk and ask questions. We're not just going to bite your heads off. We're here to help. So please come up and talk to me. Let's since we're kind of at time, is there anybody have any questions either in Zoom or in the audience here? Yeah.
How has breaking into the industry changed since COVID?
I'd say the barrier to entry is actually less right now. There's no friction in terms. A lot of times there's no friction in terms of. And just sorry for the Zoom crowd. The question was, how is applying or getting into the industry changed during COVID? And the answer is, I think it's gotten easier actually, because there's no barrier to entry. I'm like, we got to move this person here right now. We got to figure out how to get these people here. A lot of companies are offering remote only positions, or remote if you want them to be, So I know, Chelsea, when we hired you, you were in Houston, stayed in Houston for a year before you moved to Austin. We have another person we hired who's in Philadelphia and has been there for over a year. With the intent of eventually moving, but right now it's easier than ever to get to apply to these jobs. As far as like the ease of access. Now, I would say these other kind of elements, I would say are the exact same, right? The networking, building up your skills, all this stuff. I would say actually during COVID, since we're not commuting, we're not seeing as many people in person, you have more time on your hands, right? You have more time to kind of develop some of these skills. So I'd say it's actually been easier during COVID to apply some of these things. Yeah. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Do we use Houdini?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. I'm not a Houdini master by any means. I do know our VFX team uses Houdini quite a bit. I know that they are getting Houdini integrated into the engine or to our engine as well to make the use of it easier. So yeah, we do use Houdini.
Is it less for modeling and more for the VFX part of it?
We do have a question on the chat.
Okay.
The question is, how often do companies consider international applicants? I'm a citizen of the UK, so I won't need any fancy paperwork, but I live in Texas, and the travel might be a lot.
Yeah. So it depends on the company, and it depends on the seniority of the candidate as well. Our company, for example, will bring people over from different countries to come work for different studios depending on location. It's kind of why actually we have companies in different parts of the world, so we can take advantage of different talent pools. But it does put a little bit of a burden on the company to sponsor somebody from internationally, one that they're happily willing to take for the right candidates. So, and when I say the right candidates, I know what I mean is people who are probably less risky, more senior, which doesn't apply to students, right? That said, there are, it really depends on the company, and there are people who are willing to kind of take talent wherever it is. If you are a super talented individual, you apply for a company overseas, they might, make an exception, or they might say, hey, we're going to work on getting you over here, but potentially could you work for us and maybe shift your hours to match up with our hours or something like that. I've seen that as well. I would say it is definitely considered, especially for companies that don't have studios all over the world. Like Ubisoft has something crazy, like 30 plus, more so studios around the world, just so they can take advantage of different talent pools, right? But for companies who don't have that, I think they're probably more willing to work with international applicants to try to get the right people in house. So, and then most companies will sponsor or provide relocation, financial aid, stuff like that for relocation to help get you to where you need to be. Other questions? Yeah.
Is sponsoring someone for relocation, is that like common or like is that like more the exception?
I can't speak for other companies, but I would say it's fairly common practice. If we're going to ask you to come work for us, it means we really like you as a candidate, and we don't want there to be much friction to get you to where you need to be to come work for us. So I would say, sponsoring for relocation is fairly common practice. The amount might differ, right? But yeah, I'd say it's pretty standard.
So the only is you're asking the company, not if you're just like a random applicants.
Yeah, no, so they would, if you get the job, that's when they would sponsor, hey, we'll pay for you to come live here, right? There are times, especially pre-COVID, where, for candidates that get through the interview process, there's usually a step where they bring you to the office to see the office and meet the people that you'd be working with. And that's pretty far into the interview process. You'd have to get through various stages and stuff, and not every company does that. But there's the possibility of them paying to bring you out for an interview and stuff like that.
What's the process? Is it more preferable to have the applicant that has a lot of smaller projects, or a to larger projects or for?
Yeah, so the question was, is it more common to see applicants that have a lot of smaller projects or smaller or fewer bigger projects, right? I'd say it's more common to see applicants with a lot of little projects, which again is fine, but I would advise quality over quantity, right? So if you're in a game class and you're charged with delivering a product in a semester, right? And you do one of those every semester, you might have 4 or 5, little game projects, 6 if you 7 if you count the game jams you do by the end of your college career, which is fine, but again, what we see a lot of is people who, those projects lend themselves towards using engines that do a lot of the work for you. Unity is a great example. Unity is a great engine. But it's kind of designed to take a lot of the black magic that happens behind the scenes and kind of extrapolate that, make it abstract so it's easier to develop games, which is great. There's a lot of great games that come out of using Unity. But again, what we've kind of cautioned is if you want to work in AAA, you want to work in these big open world MMOs, games that have these online services, learning how the black magic actually works and understanding the black magic will set you apart. So, if it were me, if you find somebody say, hey, I want to do a project every semester from now until I'm going to graduate, and I want to do it in Unity, or hey, I'm going to do one big project over 4 years and learn I'm going to build my own engine and I'm going to make the game out of that engine. Which candidate do you think I'm going to be interested in? So, and not to say that these little projects aren't good. When having a start to finish project is actually really valuable. And it helps you to learn how to deal with scope and manage scope. It helps you learn how to schedule. So I'm not knocking these little projects. I think they're still good to do. I'm just saying that when you look at the value of what a big long project brings, I would say overall the value is higher than some of these smaller projects. So, yeah. Other questions?
There are no stupid questions.
There are no stupid questions. Exactly.
I do have a proactive
Uh-huh.
comment.
Yeah.
So first of all, Facebook is back up again. So Austin Game Dev Beer Night is returning. So yes, yay. So for those of you who don't know, in the before times, Austin Game Dev, it's a group on Facebook, and they would have bi-monthly meetups. They have one in kind of central North Austin and one in kind of South Austin. And of course, the pandemic put the kibosh on that. Well, it's returning tomorrow at Mr. Tramp's Sports Bar and Pub and Cafe. They did have good food. I know they're under new ownership. I have no idea what it's like now. But it is a really great way to network. I've met a lot of people in the industry through these beer nights. You don't have to drink if you don't want to. There are other beverages there, of course. And I've made lots of friends through it too that I still communicate with. So that's a way to be proactive, look out for things like that. Like Jake said.
Yeah.
One other point to network by artisans. That's actually how I met Jake. Go to industry fair. We want to meet you. Yes, I met Jake at industry fair. I ran it my senior year in 2020. The last one we actually got to go in person. Yeah, it was great. But that's how you meet people. That's how I met the internship company I worked for, Booz Allen. That's how I met Jake and all the Cloud Imperium a year and a half ago-ish, a little over a year. Go. Doesn't matter if you just show your resume, just sit down, start practicing talking to people. That's a big thing. Do organize for these interviews. It does get kind of like nerve-wracking when there's 8 people staring at you waiting for an answer. Start learning how to talk to them, start learning how to speak to people that way, and then just go. I mean, like, you'll remember people that you went to industry fair with. And then like after this, Alice on LinkedIn, and he'll take questions, I'll take questions. He's been in the industry longer than I have, because I've been for like a year and a bit. But ask us questions, reach out, go to these events, try to get involved, because that is a really good way to do it, is just go. Because I know they're going to plaster posters everywhere. Probably I think it's virtual again this year.
It's going to be virtual this year, but everybody, we have things, we have this, we have another event on Thursday, it'll be virtual. We're gonna have a resume review very soon. You'll see posters for that. We're gonna have a portfolio review this month with industry people as well as faculty. So sign up for it. By the way, if you wanna. And we'll have mock interviews in January, February before the fair. So we really have a lot of things that we want to get you guys ready for the fair so that you'll be on your A game.
This is part of the support. It's here for you for a reason. The committee that does it is, we all get very involved in it and you get super into it, but go to it. Doesn't matter what year you are, just start going. Because it does, I mean, if you go 3 years in a row and, you know, say he's there all 3 years in a row, we'll remember who you are. We'll remember the face of the name, especially if you reach out before and you're like, hey, I went to your talk in October, you know, whatever, just say you're going. Like, we'll look out for you, we'll say hi to you, we'll remember you, we'll put the face to name, just start making those connections and go. Like, these are the resources to learn while you're here that you're getting for free through the college. Like, just go to these things. The more you can, the better it is. Just more resources for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I wanna thank Cloud Imperium, Jake, Chelsea, and Carly for being here. This is a big deal. I mean, they came all the way out from Austin to talk to all y'all, both in person, online. So thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
Very